Hey Kim, how you doing? It's Richard Green here, CP Media. We're here on another podcast episode. Super exciting. We're going to talk a whole bunch of different cycling tonight, and you're on the show pushing the buttons as Jess is away, and we're going to catch up with a bunch of awesome guests and lots of stuff going on. How are you getting on this evening?
Yeah, I'm really excited. And seriously, there's some massive talent that we're going to be speaking to shortly and very inspiring, both of them. And yeah, I'm super excited about it. And it's cool that we're sponsored by Evo tonight because I just went there and helped sponsor everybody else with my little donation for what I bought. So that was exciting.
Yeah, Evo are great, eh? They do a great job of supporting athletes. And I think one of the best things around is their service centre. They do a great job of actually looking after bikes and getting them out and doing what they say they're doing it. And they've got a real brand presence around New Zealand, which makes a big difference for our athletes, which are obviously all across the board as well. So it's not just Christchurch and Canterbury based where we are. It's all over the place, which is really cool. So no, they had a great job. And so Evo Cycles is bringing us the podcast tonight. So what that means is an Evo Cycles prize pack on the line as well. So what you need to do to get involved with a bit of that, if you ride bikes and don't mind a voucher or something like that swinging your way, is that you need to either comment on the show, give us some feedback about actually speak louder or speak quieter, less enthusiastic potentially. Give us some feedback about what we're saying. Maybe ask a question to our guest tonight as well, because this is interactive. We want to know what you're thinking, so then we can sort of put it out and share that with the rest of the crew as well as we go.
Cool. There's some other things that CP is doing. There's a new challenge that's going on. Tell me a little bit more about that. Tell our viewers.
Yeah,
listeners.
Cool. Yeah, so since the Tour de France has just started in Denmark a couple of days ago, we have a bit of a challenge that we've thrown out there over the last few days. So if you haven't heard of it yet, it's not too late to jump on the bandwagon with it. So how far can you ride during the month of July during the tour? So we're looking to challenge all those that ride bikes and also non-cyclists as well to get on their bikes and see what percentage of the Tour de France that you can actually ride through the month of July. So they ride about 3,500 kilometers. So we're saying, can you ride 10% of that? So that's about 300 Ks. Can you ride 20%, about 700 Ks? If you're maybe a bit more time on your hands, maybe you could get to 30%. If you're unemployed, potentially 50%. What can you do? Tell us your challenge. So that's what our July challenge is all about. Kim, have you got any Ks on the bike lined up or done, completed so far? We are day 4 into July.
We are, and no, not yet, but I am planning on it. My goal is initially 10 because I'm not naturally a cyclist, so that's going to be a good challenge for me. But if I may even go 20. But it's now I've said it, people are going to hold me accountable.
Yeah, that's dangerous, isn't it? You be careful with that.
It is. Quite a lot. Yes. But the other thing we were talking about was the vertical meterage of this race is outrageous.
Yeah, when you actually start thinking and comparing our Everest challenge that we've done before, which is like, can you ride the over the month of May that we've done in the past, the total elevation of Everest, which is about 8,800 meters. Some people get to 10 and beyond that. I think 20 was the highest we had. But this, over the 21 days that the tour is actually riding, they ride 47,000 vertical meters. So day in, day out of 4,000, 3,000 vertical meters. So that's pretty crazy. So you'll have to have all day and most of the night, I think, if the rest of us were going to try and do that.
And could you imagine the amount of food consumption would be needed? That's a lot of snacks.
There's a lot of custard squares there. But so that's why this challenge, we've said, let's park the vertical meters. If you want to do that, go for your life. But we've said, let's just do some distance. Time on your bike, blue zone, aerobic, let's just get it done. And it's a really good time of the year if you can do that. And especially, say, using your indoor trainer is a good place to be able to do that. But we've got that challenge. I just want to quickly intro our other challenge. It's the half-hour strength challenge. I put it out there at the end of June. We had a bit of an uptake. Basically, for those of us that like riding bikes, going running, maybe paddling or swimming, we'd probably much rather do that for most of us. So this is for people that know that they need to do some strength. You're the person to come and talk to, help get them enthusiastic about that, Kim. But this is basically get you going, get you started actually doing a little bit of strength. So let's be a little bit less half-assed about it and get into this competition. So it's about you versus me. How many can you do? And if you're the likes of Frank or Jan Sippel, who beat me quite convincingly over 14 days.
They
took me to town. So you guys have graduated. You do not need to come back because you'll just beat me again and make me feel bad. So keep an eye out for that in the next couple of days. And the reason why you haven't heard about it yet, It's July. We're 4 days in. It is a half-hour strength challenge. We haven't done any strength training yet, so we'll get there. Okay, so
yeah, it's like Kim's half-ass bike training. It's like Richard's strength. Yeah, very similar. Oh, what else do we have on the show?
Yeah, that's enough about us, isn't it? Lots of good things going on, keeping you interested and involved during the depths of winter. So we're going to kick off the show shortly with Ella Harris. So she's New Zealand who's racing her bike professionally and rides for the Women's World Tour team Canyon-SRAM. Ella got a big break after participating in the Zwift Academy program, where the top prize was a contract with a professional team. So that's pretty awesome. But on top of that, Ella's now been selected to head to the Commonwealth Games to represent New Zealand as well. So that's a pretty awesome story. So I want to have a chat through her journey and where she's at and how she's finding riding a bike lately. We're going to talk to Julie Aitken, who joins us from wintry Wanaka, where she's a lawyer by day and a Zwift and cycling champion in basically all the other hours of the day as well. Julie is a champion of our Zwift group sessions, loves riding a mountain bike as well, and has got a bunch of awesome bike packing adventures lined up too. So we're going to have a chat to Julie, our CP athlete profile, and then we're also going to save the strength for last, Kim. We're going to talk a bit about strength conditioning and staying strong for your cycling. What should you do in terms of key lifts? How do we be a less half-assed about our strength training so we can actually help improve our performance?
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. I'm excited about all of it, actually. I can't wait to hear some of these stories.
Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. So shall we bring Ella Harris?
I reckon we should. Hold on.
Yep. Hit the button.
Hi.
How you doing, Ella?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Hey, thanks for joining us. Awesome to have you as part of the show tonight. We've been working on this for a little while now, haven't we? Getting you online with us, but we've finally managed it. Where are you in the world at the moment, and what time of the day is it for you?
I'm in Girona, Spain, and it's just before 10 o'clock. So lovely, relaxed morning for me.
Good job. And it looks like we can sort of almost see the window out behind you. It looks like it's going to be a sunny day for riding your bike. Would that be true?
Yeah, although I don't have to ride my bike today, so that's quite good. It's a rest day. But yeah, the sun is streaming through. Brilliant.
Good stuff. So let's just sort of take a bit of a step back. So I mentioned you're riding your bike in Spain, you're doing it professionally, you've been selected for the Commonwealth Games. We'll get to all of that stuff, but let's just jump all the way back to sort of where this all started for you. Did you used to ride a bike as a kid? Is it something that you've done for years, or is it like a university thing that you just kind of got a bit addicted and let's just sort of see where it goes? Tell us about sort of your intro to cycling.
Yeah, well, I've always ridden a bike, basically. I think most kids in New Zealand, if your parents let you, then they get you a bike and you start riding fairly early. So I've always been riding a bike, and my parents were very much into multi-sport and triathlon. So they did like the Coast to Coast and Challenge Wanaka and local events, mainly around the South Island. So they sort of lured me into that side of the sport, really. So from quite a young age, I remember my first goal was that I wanted to win my school cross country in year 2. So from that point, I was going out running pretty casually with my mum. And then I remember seeing that there was like the Christchurch Schools triathlon championship that was on. So from then that point, my mum got me onto a bike and I started training on one of her old road bikes for that. I used to live in Kashmir, so we'd go along to Hoosel Quarry and back along the downs. And that's where I started basically. And it wasn't until I got to high school when I was still doing triathlon, but in year 9, I joined my high school cycling program, and then I started doing Christchurch School cycling every Wednesday afternoon, and that's how I got into the racing side of things. That's where I had my first road race. And from there, I was still doing triathlon, but then we moved to Dunedin. So when I moved to Dunedin, I wasn't quite enjoying the running and the swimming scene so much. And I was starting to get a little bit injured when it came to running. I was quite careless when it came to doing exercises and managing the load and that sort of thing. So I wasn't enjoying the running as much. I couldn't swim very well anyway. So I just decided to stick to what I was fairly good at, and that was the bike. So Cool. So in your early years, did you have somebody that sort of helped, like obviously your parents, but was there anyone else that sort of really helped and supported you through your riding and getting started? Oh, that's a bit of a throwback, actually. Just trying to think. I remember the school cycling coach, I went to St. Margaret's for a couple of years. So the school cycling coach there was Paul Odlin. So I was riding around with him a little bit. And actually I went to, when I was still running and doing triathlon, I did go to the Karen Muller running groups. They were every evening, and then they became Complete Performance, I think. So I went to those. That was a bit of a throwback, probably like 2008, 2009, maybe. Every Tuesday evening or something like that. So,
Brilliant. Nice. So then it basically got into you got into the Zwift side of things. Was that because it was rainy in Dunedin and you preferred to do that, or because Dunedin does have some good riding around the hills and things, plenty of hills to climb up?
Dunedin riding is great. I think I initially got into Zwift because I'd injured myself. I'd broken my elbow at some Cycling Otago club race, and I hated riding indoors just on a wind trainer without any entertainment. So I remember downloading Zwift, and that's when I first got into it. And then I think, the weather always gets a little bit bad in the winter. So I think that's how I sort of solidified my commitment to Zwift, was just riding indoors over the winter. Yeah. And then I really got into it.
How did you win this thing? What was the thing that you did to win this professional contract? How did that come about?
So it was August 2018, and you had to sign up for the Zwift Academy. And the Zwift Academy was just a program that anyone could complete. But at the end of the program, they would select a top 10, so almost the best riders that completed all the requirements in order to graduate from the academy. So I think you had to do 12 rides in total. 4 of them would have been group rides, I think. And then there was a mixture of pretty hard Zwift workouts. I mean, when you're doing interval sessions on the trainer, they're always rather tough. So these were certainly pretty challenging. And then you also had to do max power testing within that. So you would do a couple of those workouts, and they might have, I think, maybe a 1 minute maximum power test, 4 minute maximum power. I think it went up to 10 minutes. So they could sort of build like a power profile and work out your physiology and what level you were at. So from there, they then selected the top 10. So I was selected into the top 10 after completing this initial Zwift Academy. And from there, they had a semi-finals. So the top 10 then had to complete, I think, a further 7 or 8 workouts. I did 4 on the road, I think, and then a further 3 on Zwift. And on the road, it was more power testing again, like a 3-minute test, a 12-minute test. And then from the top 10, they selected a top 3. So I was chosen into the top 3, which was very exciting at the time.
So that means you actually have to be able to ride your bike, because you have to do it outside opposed to just on the indoor trainer, putting the power down.
Yeah, that's true. But I didn't really think about that. But I think these days there are quite a few people that solely ride on Zwift. They don't actually ride outdoors. So you just have to ride outdoors for the semi-finals as well. And then after that, I was selected for the top 3. So then they flew the top 3 to Spain for the Canyon-SRAM training camp at the end of the year. It was like a pre-season camp for the 2019 season. And at that camp, we had a week-long series of challenges. And I remember one of the challenges was a 20-minute hill climb race. We had to do a ramp test on Zwift. We had to do a Zwift race. We had to do this really long endurance ride to the top of Sierra Nevada, which I think is the biggest mountain in Spain. It's nearly 3,500 meters tall, I think, at the top. We didn't quite ride that far up, but then we did walk nearly all the way to the top. So it was like a big sort of testing mission, if you like. And then at the end of the week, they selected me as the winner. The team chose me as the winner of the Zwift Academy. So that was like, the decision was in conjunction with Zwift, but mainly it was the team deciding what rider they wanted for the 2019 season, because as the winner of the Zwift Academy, you get a 1-year contract with Canyon-SRAM. So so I started riding with Canyon-SRAM in 2019, and here I am in 2022.
Yeah, how good. So what lessons did you learn? That's a pretty full-on sort of a program, from starting off with Zwift and basically jumping through the hoops, and it's getting harder and harder and harder as you go. Like, what, reflecting on that time for you, what were some of the sort of key learnings for taking out of that?
Yeah, it seems like it was quite a long time ago now, so my memory is starting to fade a little bit, but I just remember that. Yeah, I think so too, because I just remember it was a really like completely draining experience, not only physically but also mentally, because I entered the Zwift Academy wanting to win the contract, but I never actually thought I would win the contract. It's
Yeah.
almost like a pipeline dream. Like someone's got to win it at the end of the day, and you want it to be you, but then there are so many other people that also want it to be them. So you don't actually think that you're going to be the one that wins it. And then I remember getting to the top 10 and I was really excited. But then obviously it's like, well, you want to try and achieve the next step after that. So then I'd get to the top 3 and it was like, well, I really want to win now. And I remember thinking that if I didn't win, I would be devastated. I'd be in mourning for a good couple of months because I just hyped myself up for it so much. And I realized that I just wanted it so badly because it was so close. And I even remember in the top 10, it was just a stressful couple of weeks doing the semi-final workouts because I could sort of see what the other people were doing on Strava. So I'd try and stalk them a little bit and see where I was sitting. And it was just, really just mentally intense. And then physically, like the sessions on Zwift, they're so hard. I don't think you can do much harder training than you can on Zwift because there's just nowhere to hide. And especially just being in one place, it's just, they're really exhausting and they just pushed me completely to my limits. So I think because of that, I had like a newfound appreciation of being able to dig that much deeper. I didn't quite realize how much I could push and how much I could dig. And just the new levels of pain that I experienced, basically, I think I sort of extended my limits a little bit. But after that, I didn't really want to ride on Zwift that much for a while. I'm actually still a bit traumatized. I don't really like doing Zwift workouts anymore, just because I had to do it so much in 2018. I was like, no, that's enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's brutal. But that's you take confidence from that, clearly, don't you? Just in terms of I can go that hard and I can do this. And that's what being a professional cyclist is about, I guess, isn't it? Is actually just putting your body on the line and your mind just willing to put yourself that little bit further and a little bit deeper again.
Exactly. Yeah, you've really got to push the mental limits because your brain is telling you to stop and ease off and drop back from the group because it's getting too hard and you're right at your limit, but you've just got to try and ignore the thoughts and just push through it, basically.
Yeah. Is there any ways that you try and do that when you are on the limit? Because obviously you're pretty handy at that to get to where you have through that whole Zwift mission and then just riding in the pro peloton at the moment. How do you do that? How do you keep digging when your brain is naturally, it's never going to take you as deep as it's physically able to go. Your brain's geared towards saving you and looking after you, isn't it? So how do you do that for yourself? What do you tell yourself?
I like to have a few mantras and a few cues up my sleeve almost. I remember one of my teammates last year, she said to me, I always just tell myself it will end. So that's quite nice. I just say to myself sometimes it will end. And then like I have a few other things that I like to think about when I'm riding, like little cues. And I also like, for example, yesterday I was actually doing just a club race here in Spain and I was with the under-19 men. So it was quite hard. And we were riding up these hills and I was just trying to think about, because it was really tough to just even hang into the bunch. So I was just thinking about what I wanted to try and get out of the session and what would make me satisfied at the end of the race. So I knew that hanging in as long as I can, that would be really excellent training. And and I was just trying to get out really what I wanted from the session, which was to just try and ride my bike really hard and just have a solid race. So I was just thinking about the objectives and just trying to achieve those because I knew that if I dropped, I wasn't doing that as well as I could have. So
that's right. So having a really clear objective is key, but also, as you're saying, it's not forever. It's going to finish somewhere along the line. So I've just got to stay here, keep staying here and staying in the moment rather than getting too far ahead of yourself. Because we always think that this is going to be forever because it feels like forever. And seconds tick over. And they take so long, don't they, when we don't want to be there.
Yeah, and I think I think lots of people like to have little mantras or quotes that they try and remind themselves of when they're deep in the pain cave or really struggling at certain points. Like I have this little saying, above and beyond. So if I'm riding, then I just, above and beyond. And also I just, sometimes I say to myself, can I go harder? Yes, I can. And then I just, It sounds really cheesy, but it actually really works when you're in that moment, because you don't really care about if something's lame when you're really hurting. You just want to try to make yourself go faster or get through it easier.
Yeah, and believe in it. That's fantastic. So aside from the Zwift Academy and actually becoming a pro cyclist, what is there another a performance that you're super proud of, a result that you're super stoked to actually achieve in your pro cycling career? Tell us about one or two of those.
I think last year I was really pleased with my result at the World Championships. Actually, it was in Belgium. I had a really slow year last year because I was injured in August 2020 with a broken femur. And then in January 2021, I then had a crash at the Lake Dunstan Cycle Challenge when I was just, I got taken out by some little junior. So then I had a crack in my pelvis. So I wasn't able to start training for the season until very late. And because of the femur, I wasn't in great form anyway. So all this, just the bad luck compounded and left me in rather bad shape come March when I was supposed to start racing. So it was just a steady, gradual progression up to towards the latter end of the season last year. And the World Champs was almost I'd had some really good results before that and some promising performances, but I was just particularly pleased that at the World Champs, it was in Belgium. So Belgium's style of racing is quite specific, and in previous years, I didn't think it suited me. So I think I was 26 at the Worlds last year, and it was just the style of the course with the cobbles and a short, punchy finishing circuit that didn't necessarily make it completely suited to me, but I was just really pleased with how I was able to just execute the race. And basically I stayed in the front pack until I think 5K to go, where I completely exploded on this climb. Obviously I didn't say enough mantras to myself on that climb, but
one more mantra.
Yeah, exactly. I was all mantraed out by that point. It was 150 kg. But yeah, I was just pleased that I was able to be up at the pointy end at a World Champs, especially in Belgium.
Yeah, fantastic. And you say that course didn't necessarily suit you. Is that would you say like those big long mission type climbs are where you're suited more, or what's your sort of preferred course that you'd say is like that's my day today?
Well, I don't really know anymore. I'm still discovering myself as a rider. I think I'm quite an all-round rider. I consider myself a bit of a four-wheel drive. Like I can get over all terrain, and I quite like the attritional races where the stronger riders tend to come to the fore, the races where the field is slowly whittled down over time. And that is generally what happens in Belgium. But then in Belgium, you also have road furniture, positioning is really important, bunch skills, and just being at the front the whole time. So Belgium racing is quite stressful, and that's something that I haven't been too good at previously. And also when you have that sort of stuff, it makes the racing very punchy and quite explosive, and that's also something I'm not very good at all. I have maybe 3 fast twitch muscle fibers in my body, so I don't get out of corners and sprint that well. So to still be up there, was quite satisfying for me.
Nice. So getting those talking really loud to those 3 fast twitch muscle fibers, we need you now. Come on, you've got to push to get to those and to be in the right place at the right moment, obviously, don't you, in those situations?
Yeah, exactly. And the finishing circuit, I think, was maybe 15 kilometers long, and I think it had triple the amount of corners as kilometers. So it was really punchy, and I just had to, summon all that fast twitch in my body.
Yeah, good stuff. So you have been a bit injured. How's this year been for you?
Well, it started off really well. I didn't train a hang of a lot over December and January. I was more just ticking over, and my body needed a bit of extra time just to recover from what was quite a low towards the end of the season. So I wasn't doing too much training, but coming into January and February when we had team training camps, I was actually going surprisingly well on the bike. And then my first few races, I did one in Belgium, a couple in the Netherlands, and then a race in Italy. I was actually going surprisingly well. And then we got to, I think it was the 5th race of my season. And after that point, I was looking forward to just having a solid training block, because I'd been racing up until that point. So it was more racing, tapering, recovering for the next race. And I hadn't actually been doing a whole lot of training combined with the rather relaxed summer that I had. So I was just looking forward to getting stuck in again. And then knowing my luck, I crashed at the 5th race and I ended up breaking my acetabulum, which is hip socket in layman's terms. So because, as I mentioned earlier, I'd broken my femur in August 2020, I already had quite a large nail in my leg, which extended up into the ball of my hip. And basically I landed straight on that area. Just fell like a brick, basically. And the compression meant that the metal sort of almost went into it was compressed when I landed. So the metal was stronger than the bone. Yeah, metal was stronger than the bone. And it sort of went up into my hip socket, and I fractured my hip socket around where the previous screw entered my hip. So I had to have surgery on that, and I had a plate inserted around my pelvis, like where my hip socket is, in order to keep everything back in place again. So then I had 5 weeks where I was unable to weight bear until the bone had knitted sufficiently and everything was embedded nicely, so that when I did start to put pressure through, nothing was going to move, because at the end of the day, your hip is a very important joint and it needs to be operating smoothly and perfectly. Otherwise, if I had screwed up the recovery, then I'd have this funky, clunky hip for the rest of my life. So I wanted to make sure that everything was smooth and working efficiently. So it was a bit of a slow recovery process for the first 5 weeks, that's for sure.
Well, that's full on. Are we is my first sort of point. Like that's not flash at all. But do you still have that plate in your hip, or has it been removed? Or
no, I have everything still in there. So it's quite a lot of metal work down there at the moment.
Good. So when was that, and how's the recovery been since then? That would be pretty full on, sort of almost learning to walk again and starting to trust it again.
Exactly.
And self-doubt, I'd say, as well, just in terms of getting yourself back started again.
Yeah, I crashed in March. I think it was March the 24th. So then it took me through April and then to May, when I got the X-ray, and we could see that the plate and the hip were healing perfectly. Everything was still in the exact place. And I think it was at that point that I realized just how precarious the situation was 5 weeks earlier, because the surgeon that I saw in Spain was then talking about how amazing and wonderful the surgeon in Belgium, because I'd had the surgery in Belgium, how amazing he must have been. And he wanted me to congratulate the surgeon in Belgium, because apparently the plate was just perfect and everything was just looking incredible. And I didn't quite stop to think at the time just how much trust I was placing in that surgeon. I didn't quite realize how tricky the surgery would be to make sure everything was all aligned. So I think it was probably a blessing in disguise that I didn't know how almost at risk I was from not having a fully functioning hip again. So then we got to the 5 week X-ray and everything was looking perfect, which was a massive relief, because up until that point I was trying my best not to weight load and not to put any pressure on my hip and not to do any movements that might aggravate something. But I could still feel little pains from time to time and occasionally some quite strong aches. So I was thinking, oh no, what have I done? So to get to 5 weeks and see everything was perfectly in alignment and was basically healing a lot faster than expected was actually a massive relief. And then from there I was able to start learning to walk again and placing pressure through. And I just trusted the advice that I'd been given. So I didn't really think too much about possibly overloading it and then doing the damage, because I assumed that what they were telling me was the right advice and that I was able to start putting pressure through. So from that point on, I started off very slowly. As soon as I got the news that everything was healing nicely, then I jumped on Zwift that afternoon, did 30 minutes, felt terrible, but it was just good to be back on the bike. And then from that point, I think I did a couple of weeks just on Zwift, slowly building it up to the point where my muscles were fully activated again and I was feeling like stable and balanced on the bike and I wasn't a danger to myself, because if I went out on the road, I wanted to make sure that everything was working properly, and that I was just balanced and that I wouldn't injure something else. So I did 2 weeks on Zwift, and then from that point on, I started training outdoors again, but I was also doing still a mixture of Zwift riding. And then just under, I think, 11 weeks after my hip surgery, so about 6 weeks back on the bike, I did my first race again, which was straight up Mont Ventoux, which is a big mountain in France, which the team chucked me into. And then it had, I think, 2,700 meters of climbing and 100 kilometers. And that was, 11 weeks after hip surgery and 4 weeks of proper training, I would say. And then I've just recently, a week or so ago, I came back from the Tour de Suisse. So I did 4 days of racing at the Tour de Suisse. So yeah, everything's back on track now, and my hip feels fairly normal. It's still a little bit clicky, a bit clunky. It's not quite as smooth as it could be. I sort of liken it to almost, I think my good hip, it feels like it's just lined with peanut butter, smooth peanut butter. It's like completely smooth, and it goes nicely around the hip socket, whereas the other one's crunchy. So it's a bit more rough, and it's still got a few clicks to iron out. But yeah, it's nicely on track.
You need to be using it to get that going and get that healing continuing to happen. But obviously, you've got a fair bit of enthusiasm, and training's obviously going well, and starting to get back into the swing of things. Obviously, completing that tour would have been a big confidence booster. Yeah,
definitely. And the first couple of days were rather horrific, but then suddenly something clicked and I found a bit more fitness that I didn't know I had. So that was exciting, and I was able to fulfill my team role quite nicely. So that was, a big confidence booster, and also a big surprise to the team because they didn't actually realize I would be as fit as I was. So
useful as well. That's nice. Awesome. So you've also been selected for the New Zealand for the Commonwealth Games as well. How good is that? That must be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was really exciting. It's been my big goal for 2022. And then when I broke my hip, that was definitely in doubt. But I remember I did the calculations in the hospital bed, and I realized that I definitely still had enough time to be there. So I made Cycling New Zealand aware of that it was still my mission. And it was a massive relief to be selected, and that they put trust in me to recover fully before the event and be able to, be at a good level of fitness. So I think now, I'm definitely tracking nicely towards that point.
Good. So that was based off your World Champs performance, was it, to be selected there? And then
I think, the selection period ended in May, and my crash was in March. So up until that point, I think I'd showed some good form in races, and then the World Champs last year was also quite a key selection event. So I think they knew that I was a solid performer when fit and when uninjured. So
nice. Good stuff. So now that because you've been on our podcast, you're going to have a whole basically I don't know, what do you call it, an army of Team CP supporters that are going to be absolutely rooting for you when you get to the Commonwealth Games. It's going to be just be aware of that. It's going to be a whole other level of people encouraging you and hoping you're going to do well. So be aware.
Oh, fantastic. Awesome. It's always good to have people watching women's cycling.
Exactly. Nice work. Kim, do you have any other questions that you want to pose to Ella?
Oh, you know me. I love a bit of strength, Ella. So I would love to know, what is some of your strength work that you have had to do to either get back from your injuries, or what does your strength program look like as a cyclist for yourself?
In like a normal period, not particularly.
Well, both, like in season and out of season, would be fascinating to hear.
So at the moment, I haven't been in the gym because I've just been getting my hip to a working point. I haven't wanted to overload things too much. But up until this point in time with my injury recovery, I've been going to physio, and I've been just doing general strength, just with like rubber bands and elastics and that sort of thing, just to be able to get the muscles activated again. And I also used a complex machine during that time, so I didn't lose too much muscle. So like electro stimulation on the muscles. So actually, I didn't have to do too much strength to get my bad leg, the side with the broken hip, back to a good level of strength, a similar level of strength. So that's been quite good. And then when I'm not injured and when it's not such a serious time of the year with racing and not a busy period, then I do like to go to the gym. And I generally do pre-season gym work. And also last year, I think during racing, I still did go to the gym quite a bit because, like I said earlier, I lack a lot of explosivity. So I'm able to get that through going to the gym and doing specific exercises like leg press and squats and just a whole array of basic gym exercises, nothing too serious because I think I look like a fish out of water when I'm at the gym.
No, basic is good. If you can't master the basics, then why be there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So at the moment, I'm more just ticking over. I'm just doing a general range of exercises with bands and without, just to make sure that my quads are firing, my glutes are firing, and that my core is nice and solid.
Good stuff.
Awesome.
I've got a couple of questions that have come through actually that people are listening to. First one from Scott Chamberlain.
Cool.
Kim wants to know if you do single-legged deadlifts.
I can't even think what that is actually.
A deadlift with one leg at a time.
I'm not very. Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To be fair, I probably have done it. I just more of a visual person. I need the diagram. I need a YouTube video of someone showing me what to do. I don't know the name.
Yes.
You were going to say yes. Of course you would. Absolutely.
And then Scott's laughing at that. What's one piece of advice? This is from Glenn. What's one piece of advice you would give youth in the sport to help them achieve from your experiences?
I think it's important not to take things too seriously too soon, because there's a lot of technology, and I think juniors these days have access to so many different things like power meters and just like a lot of equipment that they don't necessarily need, and they can have like a training plan, and they can train really seriously at quite an early age these days. I think the mentality is almost I just see a general trend when where juniors are starting to get a lot more serious about their cycling a lot earlier, and I think social media also plays a role in that, because you see these young cyclists, they might only be under 17, but here they are posting about their results and their races and doing little race reports on Instagram. And I think it's all fine, but then I do worry that perhaps they take their sport very seriously, and they're making sacrifices, and they're not quite having that life balance that they should have at that sort of age. And it's like there are juniors at the moment who are racing in Europe, and they've left high school, and I don't quite understand why you would make sacrifices like that for your sport so soon. Like, I think education first, finish high school and then maybe see what you can do with your cycling. But I think, like, I didn't get a Garmin until a few years into my cycling. I didn't get a power meter until maybe 5 years into my cycling, when I really needed it. And I think, you don't really know what you're missing out on. It's best just to, be more relaxed and not so serious about the training, because there will come a point where you need to be serious about it. But like when you're a junior, it's just all about enjoying it and just having fun racing. And because when you take it too seriously, then you can lose that balance and also the mental side of things. Like, it just becomes a lot more negative, and I don't necessarily think that's the best.
Yeah, that's good advice, eh? Just having, and that gives you that longevity to be able to
exactly
want to do it
because you want it to be sustainable.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You don't want to then reach the professional level and think, oh my gosh, I've been doing it seriously for 5 to 10 years, and I don't know how I can keep doing it, because I've almost wiped myself out. I'm completely drained, and I've just made it to where I want to be. So I think it's important to just
need to be able to train and need to want to get out there and do it, etc.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't want to be burnt out before you actually need to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, awesome, Ella. That's so good. We've got a quick 5 that we're going to fire at you just to finish off and get it. So you're not allowed to think about this too hard. You've got 5 quick questions. It'll be one from me, then one from
I'm so bad at this.
Oh yeah, that's right. But all right. Most of them are about food anyway, so you'll be sweet.
Oh,
so what's your go-to breakfast as your first one?
Wheat Bix or bagels.
Oh, good. How many Wheat Bix do you do? I've just had the All Blacks cards come out of the Wheat Bix. Now 8-year-old ate 6 this morning.
It's such an important question. In New Zealand. 4, generally 4. I think I probably should do more though.
You're on the gain train. Yeah, totally. What's your favorite event?
Oh, probably the World Champs.
Awesome. Yeah, good stuff. Brilliant.
Cool.
favorite ice cream flavor? Do you do ice
Oh,
cream?
yes, but
Yep.
I don't really care about the flavor. It's more about the style. It just has to have chunks. Just, cookie dough chunks, or I just don't like a plain ice cream. We need some textural element in there.
Okay, good. So passionate about your ice cream.
Much more in New Zealand. They do like great chunks in their ice cream, like the lemon cheesecake one, and it has little cheesecake chunks. Yeah.
Good stuff.
I can get a sponsorship deal with that on much more.
I like
Fancy meal, fancy meal out or a home cooked meal.
Probably go to the supermarket and get all sorts of things and then bring them home.
No, fair enough.
Yep, good stuff. And favorite snack to eat while out on an adventure? Out on a big mission, out on a big bike ride. What's your favorite thing to pull out of your back pocket?
Something bread related, probably a good sandwich.
Okay, solid. Or an ice cream if you could have one. Would that be a possibly?
No. Ice creams are for after.
Okay, good.
I've got my snack schedule dialed in.
Yeah, good stuff, Ella. Hey, that's so good. Thank you so much for your time, and all the best for your continued build to the Commonwealth Games. Do you know the date of when your race is with the Commonwealth Games?
Yes, it's August the 7th.
August the 7th.
So I've got a month and 3 days to keep training. Yes, the road race.
Road race, brilliant, awesome. Well, we'll be cheering on. Expect a few Insta messages and bits and pieces from Team CP crew. So just go and give it heaps, and we'll be awesome. And have an awesome day. Soak it up.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
It's been nice to be here. All right. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good stuff. Wow. Well done on the button pushing there, Kim. What was your sort of key takeaway from this chat?
Wow. I mean, one of my takeaways is it's a good thing that she's young because she can recover quickly. Because if I did that, it would take me forever to get back. But I loved her mantra, just can you go harder? Yep. Okay. Here I go. She is her own best little pusher. There's no boundaries. She just keeps going. And I loved that. That was quite inspiring, actually. So next time I'm in the hurt locker, can you go harder? Probably. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, that's just probably. Yeah, that's right. And that's where she said she got dropped at the Worlds because she was out mantraed. She did there's a point that actually physically you can't go again. And actually this is my limit. So that's pretty awesome to sort of know that you've put your best in, which is at the end of the day what this is all about, is that how good can I go? Yeah.
And I actually really love that, the World Champs, that was her favorite race. And I think she didn't necessarily have to win it, but her performance and that she dialed everything in and she did what she wanted to achieve. And that was success for her. And I think that just demonstrates it's not always about the victory. It's about the journey to get to the experience, that experience. And I love that part as well.
Yeah, proud of her performance. That went back to her training the other week or yesterday when she was riding with in that club race as well, which is awesome. So let's move along, shall we? We've got Julie waiting. Julie, are you there?
I am. I've got my new mantra for Wednesday night now, though. Okay, it will end. It will end.
Let's go. I might borrow that from Friday mornings as well.
Good. So, Julie, you are on that Friday, Wednesday night. So you've been Zwifting with us and sort of keeping me honest for a little while now on these group Zwift sessions that we have. What's the biggest thing that you get out of them for you? So Monday morning, we're at 6 a.m. You're up at 5:30 to get on the bike with us.
Yeah. There's heaps with it, really. I think what, any of those sessions do is they provide an anchor, to anything around it. It's nice and organized, so it's really easy to form a habit. And it's one that you don't talk yourself out of when, because everyone's going to be there. And even though people I haven't really met them, but I know they're going to be online, that if I don't go, I know people like Eric or B will be there and I won't be. So it's that fear of missing out. So that's, really big incentive. And it's been nice to meet virtually people on the ride. And you always make us go so much harder, Rich. I don't know how many times 4 minutes in or 5 minutes in, it's surely I'd like to bail, but no, B normally is lining up some sort of 5-minute thing at the end, isn't she? And to make us just go much harder. That's not
good that you're wanting to bail after 4 minutes or 5 minutes in. That's not.
No. I meant 5 minutes to go. No. No,
Yeah,
you know, no, they're really good. And I think what you do really well with those is, you know, there's some technique things with it without having ever really any cycling coaching. So that's really useful. And, you know, and then the added challenges that were added, I really enjoyed the Everest challenge last month. That was great, and hooking on to the new challenge that you've got this month, and it sort of nice short focuses that keep you another reason to keep on going. So lots of good reasons to hook into those sessions there, Rich.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
And how have you noticed this transferring into your mountain biking? Because you don't just ride on your indoor trainer. You're based in Wanaka, and you've got lots of great terrain to go and explore and get amongst. How have you found that transferring into your other riding?
I thought, I really noticed it because I had done the winter with you, and then came out on the summer, hit Bike Glendu, and just couldn't believe how much stronger I was climbing up the hill. Get the session down. Of course, you live by your Strava account, and it says all personal records. And I thought, wow. I just, I think it's that technique. I have your voice in my head. It says, pull back into the heel cup of your shoe. That just goes around in my head, and that's that really good technique. And I just found that really transitioned well over to the summer on my bike. And so, yeah, really worthwhile that session in the winter, and with technique and strength, really.
Yeah, building that technique and building that strength and having that consistently, and then being able to do that when you actually need it, getting up a hill. That's awesome to be able to think about those things, and then that helps in too, doesn't it? When you're thinking about other than getting something else than getting to the top, you're actually thinking about how you're doing it. That's useful.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you always also say, so I am listening. Process. Concentrate on the process, and when you're getting up that hill and you really are struggling, I try and think about those things, and really technique, instead of just slamming it down just to get to the top. So yeah, they've been really useful, and certainly has been a bit of a game changer for me in terms of my cycling during the summer.
Good stuff. So tell us a little bit about your background. Have you done a bunch of riding before? Like, what got you into this?
I think I'm probably a lot of older riders that you sort of got into it late in life. You played lots of traditional sport and was a bit of a netballer and played masters, and then your body just starts falling apart, and someone says, hey, come out on a bike. And then suddenly you're hooked, and certainly got into the mountain biking probably, I don't know, maybe 18 years ago. And yeah, it's always been, mountain biking has always been probably my happy place, but I've, sort of got into the road cycling as you do. You sort of pick up all the other things, and did a bit of multi-sport and that sort of thing. So yeah, you just keep trucking along because your body can at least hold out on a bike compared to all the other sports. So what do they say? Biking, what is it? Biking's the new golf.
Yeah, a bit of that, isn't it? So how long have you had your Strava account for? Is my first question, because you were doing some PRs up the hill, and is that as a result of sort of the way that you're doing things now, or is that actually just because it's been on a track that I haven't ridden very often? Are you still improving? How's that improvement for you? Are you still finding that actually going well?
Yeah, absolutely. We went out on Saturday and did a track that I've done reasonably often, and I didn't actually think it was going that well, but I was just enjoying the day out because it was warm and the sun was out, and got back and my account said, had a personal best on a particular, quite a long route, and I thought, well, that's great. I'm not even noticing that, that those improvements, but I don't know how long I've had a Strava account. I think I've had that for years, but
okay, good. Well, that's a good sign that you're still doing PRs, and obviously you've ridden that lots as well. And that's the beauty of that. There's lots of naturally occurring evidence that just pops up and says, actually, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it can be a little bit habitual though sometimes, doesn't it? You don't want to be constantly looking at, am I doing better? Am I doing better? It's try and put it away and think, that's a nice surprise.
Yeah.
But when you're doing the work, it is nice to get some improvement along the way.
Seeing that pop it up for you. So what's up next? What adventures have you got planned? What's on the horizon for you?
We've booked for the Waka, which would be really good, and obviously pick that up through your channels and getting to know, be a little bit online, and also being an event provider. We sort of connected through the times when we're all struggling with what to do with events, as you know, I'm involved in Challenge Wanaka. So we're going to head up there the week before and actually see if we can actually ride some of the trails and see my technical ability is good enough, and hopefully maybe help out, maybe ride some trails and Taupo as well. And so that really looking forward to actually having a decent week up there. We did transfer our entry for coast, but I have to say the mojo on coast training is not so great. But we've registered with it to do the sounds to sounds, but inspired one of your athletes, Jan, to give a bit of bike packing a bit of a go. So really looking forward to that challenge.
So just quickly on that, explain the sounds to sounds to us for those that haven't heard about that.
So that's a new event. Well, not really an event. It's a new bike packing trip they put into place at the Kennett Brothers last year. So in addition to the Tour Aotearoa, and you start around, you do the Queen Charlotte track, and then you end up at Milford Sound. I haven't got quite all the details. I've ridden some of the bits in between. I haven't sort of worked out the navigation in the middle, but I'm sure we'll figure it out along the way. So I think
how good is that? That's a quite long way. That's pretty impressive. And over how many days are you expecting that to take?
We're not quite sure. We haven't figured that out. We're thinking at least 15. I see some of the people who did it last year sort of rip through it in about 8 with sort of 200 odd Ks a day and no stopping. We certainly don't want to be in that vein. We want to enjoy it and, make a bit of a holiday. So even 15 days is something like 100 Ks a day. So we might reassess that as we go.
Yeah, good stuff. I just had a question that come up here from Gary. So Julie, is Brett a help or a hindrance during this training?
I wonder what Gary would think. We know Gary very well. The training with Brett is often always at high pace, and I'm always saying slow down. So I'm not sure the answer to that, especially when he's just sitting over here.
Depends on the objective, doesn't it? I guess let's just leave it there. Depends what you're trying to achieve that day. That's all good. Awesome. So you're also on the board of the Challenge Wanaka Sports Trust as well. How did you become involved with that? And that's because obviously Wanaka, that's a big part of the calendar from endurance, multi-sport type of perspective. Yep.
When we moved to Wanaka about 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't have a job because we moved here for Brett's work, and so I thought I'd do something different and picked up a role with Challenge Wanaka, being their commercial manager, which was great, but it wasn't enough hours, so I went back into doing law and then went on the board. So that was really, how I transitioned into that, and then was chair last year, and then deputy chair now with Jess, which we got on board last year, which has been fantastic. So really building the capability and the trust and taking some time out to figure out where we're going and what we're doing with our events and that sort of thing.
Yeah, great. So how does the season looking for Challenge Wanaka for the year ahead? So the multi-event is back in October again, and the Challenge Wanaka Standard Sort of Triathlon Festival is lined up for February 2023.
Yep, that's the plan. I mean, we're obviously put replicating plans from the year before and hoping we've got enough money and things to put all that in place after a pretty tough year. But we're all go for the multi. Entries are looking really positive with that, and our entries looking really positive for the festival as well. We're hoping we had a new Friday night event as well with Hayden Wild and a few athletes coming to town to do sort of a sprint triathlon around the town to bring some sort of energy back to the town centre on the Friday night. So we're hoping to do all those things again. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, good stuff. No, it's a big job, and it'd be good just to get like a good solid season of events happening, won't it? It'll be good just to get back and getting underway again after but a couple of haphazard type years. It's just been difficult for everybody just to get back to sort of standard sort of procedure, which would be good. So you've got lots of riding on the cards, you've got lots of adventures lined up. How does the next sort of couple of months look for you? Because we're in the depths of winter, aren't we? With July, we've got August, and then we can start to maybe see some days getting longer, some spring coming along down in Wanaka as well. How's that shaping up for you?
I haven't really done too much thinking about it, to be honest, Rich. That's why I like your challenge for this month. It keeps me month focused. Pretty busy at work at the moment. So, where I can fit things in is great. And then I'm hoping with the amount of work we do in July, that'll launch into a bit more training to, with a view with a Waka to start building that up. But unlike probably a lot of your athletes, I'm not that very organised other than this month.
Good. Well, that's right. Ride your bike lots. And as I said at the top of the show, our half-assed strength challenge. Are you going to get in? Are you a half-assed sort of strength athlete, or do you tend to get that done pretty well?
No, I'm definitely half-assed. I liked your one where we were doing the little 10-minute sessions that we were challenging you on. That certainly got me going again. I'm not very good at that, and I certainly know Kim and I have been talking about how much strength is really important at women for our age. So yes, I do need to get better at that. So I'll be looking forward to that challenge to kick me out the bum and do a bit more.
We'll do that. So you unlike Jan, she's qualified and she can move on because she beat me quite convincingly. But Julie, you can come back for another season. We'll have another go. And Kim and I are going to be filming a whole bunch of different strength workouts as well. So that will help for a little bit extra motivation and a bit of variety amongst it as well. Keep you honest.
Yep, good.
Good job.
Like that.
Nice work, Julie. Hey, thank you so much for joining us. It's awesome to have you on the show and sharing your perspective and great to have you part of our group sessions, keeping me honest along the way as well. It's awesome.
That's great. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Take care. We'll catch you tomorrow night.
Yes, will do.
Cheers, Julie. See ya.
Bye.
Hello.
Good stuff. Kim,
awesome.
So we've talked a bit about strength and the need that we need a bit of strength, and obviously that's something that we need to make sure that we do. We don't also always prioritize that, but so from hey, we've got this event in summer, etc., that we're shooting for. How should we be sort of periodizing that, thinking about the big picture in regards to that? Should we just be doing a bit of core strength, or should we be trying to lift heavy? What's sort of the game plan now in regards to the year ahead?
Yeah, totally. Like, I have to be honest, when you said summer, I had this American moment and I went back to June and I was like, we're already there. But we're not, thank goodness. No, I think when it comes to you thinking about your training plans, it's really important to think about, the concept of when do I lift heavy? When do I kind of change my plan around? And that is where it's a really good time to catch up with your coach and kind of with your periodized plan. A lot of my athletes that I hang out with, I'm like, okay, so, what is Richard doing? How many times does he have you training? And on their off season or their building season, we're totally going heavier because you have a lot of time to recover. A lot of the coaches aren't doing as much sports specific kind of stuff. They're just allowing for some recovery and a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of play and have some fun doing some other things. And that's a really good time to start dialing in that strength, getting some heavier moving going on, getting some heavier lifting going on, and getting a really solid base so that when you kind of start coming into your program, you start changing your weights and your rep schemes and all that. And then when you get really into season, again, that will change as well based on kind of what your coach is programming for you. So it's all kind of dependent upon catching up with your coach, like I catch up with the strength. I'll catch up with you and just make sure that we know where our athletes are at, because I don't want to be programming them something super heavy when you're giving them a ton of work. That doesn't know, that's just an instant recipe for burnout and injury.
100%. So I guess there's two things there. First of all, that all sounds very complicated. So I guess that's the beauty of having you on board to sort of put your energy into that. What movements are we doing? And then also how are we lifting in terms of the weight and the reps and the what sort of CrossFit elements are we bringing into that? How much hurt opposed to just sort of we're doing 5 reps of whatever weight. So I guess that it can be really complicated. So that's what your job is. And then the second thing is, as we're talking about this half-hour strength challenge, it's a bit of a let's have a bit of fun with it. But actually at the end of the day is just do something. Anything is better than nothing.
Totally. And, I sometimes take your my half-ass endurance training of the mindset that your 15-minute rule, right? Like you set people blocks of 15 minutes of work kind of, and that is the same kind of thing. Like, you used to do 7-minute abs, but we always do one better. We're going to go 8-minute abs and we're just going to do some strength work. But it's the concept of getting something done, but also being efficient with your time. What's the best bang for your buck? Do we combine some moves here? Do we make it a bit more simple? And that's where it's really good to have a plan and an idea of where you want to go with your training. Because if a lot of people are just like, I don't know, and I'm just going to start choosing things, well, maybe we're going to be training the wrong muscle groups. Maybe we're not training the right ones for where they're going to be at. You're right. It can get really complicated. But I think, as you say, the simple answer is just start doing something. We've got some really great videos with CP of what you and I have been programming. And those are great options for people to start. And then, yeah, to get into the more nitty gritty stuff, that's where you have a catch up with me or like a different strength coach, so we can make sure that we're directing you in the right kind of steps going forward.
And that's the thing, if you do a little bit of something all over the shop, you can't even see any improvement. So why do I carry on going? And that's where that sort of goal setting and what do I want to achieve out of it is really important as well. And just on your note about 7-minute abs is no longer 7-minute abs. So we're just saying it, and it's here tonight, people. It's been rebranded to 8-minute abs. 8-minute abs, because we are that one little bit better.
We are just, we always kind of challenge each other to be better. So we are better. We're the one better. We're the one up better.
Let's go one better. So we can flag any 7-minute abs. We're going to be bringing you an 8-minute abs series of videos. It's 2022. We're moving forward, and we're just going to be that little bit better.
Totally, absolutely. Yeah, there's some humdingers in there as well. Yeah.
and just like again, as we talked about, strength can be quite complicated. Keeping it really simple from a cyclist perspective, because we've talked a lot about riding your bike tonight. What are, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 kind of key strength moves that I should be doing if I'm wanting to ride my bike and improve my bike riding?
Well, I think as my good friend Scott said, single leg deadlifts are pretty much where it's at. But yeah, a lot of single leg strength work is super important. So you could do a squat, like a pistol squat, a Bulgarian split squat, some type of deadlift. So like a pushing, pulling, hinging kind of mindset. And as well, like mountain biking, a lot of people forget about your upper body and what goes on there and like your grip strength. Flip, when I just came back from Queen Charlotte, my forearms were shot and I forgot about how much you just kind of hold on for that dear life. So a really good move would be like a heavy carry, like a heavy farmer's carry, or like a Zotman curl. Those are some overlooked kind of muscles that people don't think about until after the fact. You're like, man, I'm really sore in my arms. And probably my final one would be like my favorite move is a Pinlay row. So it's like a bent over row, just strengthening that back and posterior chain. Whether you're road cycling or mountain biking, you've got to have a strong core and back to hold yourself in those positions. And sometimes that can get so overlooked because we think of cycling as just a leg sport, but it's a whole kinetic chain, and you got to be strong from top to bottom.
Yeah, brilliant. So that's that final one, that Pinlay row. We're going to squeeze our shoulder blades and pull all that weight into the back, just like we're riding our bike and sort of holding ourselves strong. So people have got two options there. They're quickly pushing pause and Googling all those crazy names you just said, or they're going to check out some of those videos that we're going to be posting over the next few weeks. And all those, we're going to be running through all those exercises as part of those as well. So if you've got any questions, just sing out. That's what our job is. And Kim's here for that as well. So just fire any questions away, and we're here to help for you to be better. And one of our key things with Team CP is actually, how do we improve your learning curve? How can we be better with less effort? So, hey, we've been out there, we've done lots of stuff. So let's share that with you and make that learning curve go faster.
Totally. And I think what Ella said, like just the simple basic moves are so foundationally important. And I think a lot of people get so caught up in what they see on Instagram, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. If you can't do a good squat, you can't do a good deadlift and a good lunge, like let's start at those basics and learn the foundational moves and get them down well. And then we can progress you to more fun and exciting kind of moves, but get the foundation correct and we'll go from there.
Good job, Kim. Hey, thanks for pushing the buttons tonight. You've done super well. And we've done well. We've got some, fantastic to have Ella and Julie on the show to sort of share their background expertise, what they're learning. And I've learned a couple of things. It's really good to, again, I really enjoy talking about that whole mindset stuff, and especially Ella with her a bunch of different injuries that she's had to sort of overcome. I really hope that she can have a good, solid kind of season ahead from where she's at. So she's in a good place, and obviously pretty well motivated to go and give it heaps in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games.
It was awesome. That was super inspiring. And Flip, man, she's overcome a lot. So big thumbs up to her.
Brilliant. Good stuff.
Cool.
Excellent. Over and out, team. Look after yourself until next time. We'll look forward to catching you out there on our Zwift sessions. Feel free to join them. If you're not sure how to do that, just flick us a message. If you need to touch base with Kim about some strength stuff, definitely do that and get involved in either a half-hour strength challenge or a Tour de France Ride Your Bike challenge. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Cool.
Good job. Thanks, team.